Hello everyone, it's Yana here from ShaNaMetics, and today I've got Kerry. Hello Kerry, and welcome to my channel.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Pleasure is all mine. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please, before we begin our conversation.
Okay, so I'm Kerry. I'm an EFT tapping practitioner. I've got 3 girls, which I also homeschool at the same time as working. I live in Northern England, and I've been running this business for a couple of years now. I really enjoy it. EFT has been such a life changer for me. I just love what I do.
I have the first time I heard about EFT. Is that how it is? Am I saying it correctly?
EFT, yeah.
Is it also called tapping?
Yeah, so EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and people call it tapping.
Right. It was my yoga teacher that told me about it. I never got into it, but I have heard amazing things about EFT and how beneficial it can be if you have, for example, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to find out how can we use EFT to help us with anxiety, because nowadays anxiety is so common.
Yeah.
And I'm also noticing that people prefer to use more natural ways to deal with their problems,
Mm-hmm.
rather than go to a doctor and get prescribed medication.
Yeah. Okay, so shall I start with what EFT is first? If I explain that, then everybody knows what we're talking about. So EFT involves tapping on points around your body that are acupressure points. So same as in acupuncture, where they would insert needles, all we do is we tap on those points instead. And while we're tapping on those points, we tune into problems, events, past things that have happened to us in our lives. And as we're tapping, it releases the emotional buildup or the emotional charge that is still there from things that have happened to us. So the best way to describe it is we've got our physical body. At the same time, we've also got an emotional body. So our physical body functions along just fine. Our emotional body likes to gather. It gathers emotions. That's the best way to describe it. So, and we hold on to these emotions. So with this emotional, energetic part of us, it's a system. So the same as we've got an immune system, a digestive system, a nervous system, we've also got our energetic system. And it runs through what are known as meridians throughout our bodies. These meridians are where blockages can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at an acupuncture chart and it'll show you all of the meridians all around the body. But what EFT has done is taken the main points and we tap on those and we release the blockages. So you can imagine it as a river. So the energetic body, your energy would run along this river. But when things have happened to us in the past, events, situations that have occurred, blockages come in this river and your energy becomes stuck. So what we're doing with tapping is we're releasing these blockages, releasing and enabling our energy to flow as it should. So that's the premise of EFT.
Mm-hmm.
So to apply it to something like anxiety it's a little bit different, because you can't just apply it to anxiety, because anxiety can be caused by 1,000,001 different causes, different things that have happened to us, and it builds up into generalized anxiety. And when we've got generalized anxiety, we don't know why. A lot of the time, we don't know why. But what's happened is we've got 2 parts of our brain. We've got the conscious brain that's sitting here now having a conversation, and we've got the unconscious or the subconscious part of our brain that's keeping us upright, allowing us to breathe, stopping us falling off our chairs, everything like that, all running in the background. The main job of the subconscious brain is to keep you safe. Okay, so it keeps track of everything that's ever happened to you in your life, and it uses that to develop programs and systems to keep you safe, to stop you dying. That's his job. That's his only job, is to keep you alive and stop you dying. So it does that, keeps you breathing, keeps your heart pumping, and keeps you safe from danger. So what's happened is with anxiety is your subconscious brain has built up a program around, can be a million different things. So all the things that have ever happened to you, you've got programs around them. And then you go into a situation or you go somewhere and something is very similar to your program, your subconscious will trigger it instantly. And that could be just going into a supermarket. It doesn't have to be anything big, but something that's quite normal in day-to-day life. Your subconscious will link it back to something that's happened and give you all of the symptoms of anxiety. And you, as a conscious person, have got no idea why you're feeling the way that you feel. Your chest is tight, you feel like you can't breathe, you know, you're getting hot, you feel like you just want to run away, because that's what your body's telling you to do now, because your subconscious has triggered the program of, I don't like this is scary, something bad's going to happen, we need to get out of here, and it'll do everything it can to make you go away from whatever the source of the problem is. But what's happened to us in our lives now is that everything has become a source of the problem, because we live such pressurized lives that our subconscious is just seeing problems everywhere, and therefore triggering these feelings, triggering the anxiety. So I always tend to try and describe it as a table. So you've got, this is your anxiety as the tabletop, but there's legs holding your anxiety in place, and just dealing with the anxiety not going to do anything. To be able to take the table down, you've got to take the legs out. So what we have to do with EFT is try and understand exactly what it is that's holding it in. So it usually involves we start at the beginning, we work through any events that come up in your life that you know about, for starters, things that we all have, these big events that have happened to us. There's things in our past that we all remember. If we're going to look into our past, there's things that will stand out, and we'll start by dealing with those. And once we manage to get through those, then we can start unraveling and unraveling and unraveling until we can finally get to the root cause, or the last things that are holding this anxiety in place. So, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is this isn't a quick fix. It's not a fast overnight thing. But the more you deal with, and the more little things you deal with, the more you start to change, because you're shutting down those programs, you're shutting down the way you think, you're shutting down these beliefs, and you start to change. And all of a sudden, life gets easier. The symptoms get smaller, and you can deal with them at the same time, if that makes sense.
And what I like about something like EFT is that it deals with the root cause of the problem, not only the symptoms. And I reckon you work with your clients to get to the root cause of the problem and sort of help them to resolve it and become a more positive person, I would say. Because what we want to do is get, like you say, these days you have anxiety and it gets out of hand, and the first thing we're taught to do is to go to the doctor. But the doctor doesn't necessarily know why you're anxious. So what they're trained to do is to give you a prescription for some drugs that will try and help your mind calm down and try and help numb the feelings, or medication to calm your body down, which, you know, I've been there. I was that person, you know. I've taken the diazepam. I've been down that road. I know it's really, really hard, but it doesn't solve the problem. You can take the tranquilizers, you can take the antidepressants, but the problem is still there, and your subconscious still knows there's a problem, and it'll still keep raising the alarm, and it'll still keep shouting fire, 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 until you go back and actually deal with it. All you're doing is just numbing the symptoms. You just the pills just cover the problem. They don't actually resolve it. Today. I saw a very interesting article or a blog post, or whatever you want to call it, on your website about self-sabotage. Do you know, I had this conversation with someone recently that it's easy to be negative,
than positive nowadays. It seems like negative emotions don't require so much effort. And because we're so negative all the time, we are self-sabotaging without even realizing it. And to become positive and to feel positive all the time, it takes a lot of hard work. Would you say that EFT can help to shift your mindset from negative into positive?
Yeah. So the way I do EFT is I will always start with the negative. And a lot of people will come into it and you want to change and you want to be a positive person and you want all of these things. But if we just start tapping on, I am a more positive person, the world is a wonderful place, that, you know, your subconscious mind just says, no, I don't think so. That's not true. You're lying. I know what's happening and that's not how it's going to go. So, and it'll just shut you down. And what you can tap all day long, you can say as many positive statements as you want, but it won't change anything. You'll still be the same person. Your mind will still work in the same way because you haven't proven to your subconscious mind that it is safe for you to think in that way. That's all your subconscious wants is safety. It wants you to be safe. And if you can't prove that to it, then it's not going to believe you. And then it'll start sabotaging you. And you don't know it's happening because if you read about the subconscious mind, it operates like that. It doesn't need time. Our conscious brains, we sit here and we can think about stuff and we can reason stuff, and you can't reason with your subconscious because it's made a decision and it's done, and that's it as far as it's concerned. And it's made the decision and it starts the chemical flow of the feelings, and you just have to go. If you don't catch what's happening and you don't realize what's happening, you are just led by the emotion and the feeling to run in the opposite direction without even realizing it. I often describe it as if to imagine your subconscious as an elephant, and it's this giant elephant, and you and your conscious brain is this little mouse running alongside of it. And this little mouse wants to make changes and it wants to do things, but the elephant's just putting its foot there. Whenever the mouse thinks it's getting somewhere, it's just blocked every turn. And that's what's known as self-sabotaging, because you will do things to stop yourself winning. So I am going to be positive. I'm going to make changes. I'm going to be financially abundant. I'm going to be all these things, but you still believe that you're not. You still believe that the world's a terrible place. You still believe that you can't be financially abundant because of X, Y, and Z, that your conscious brain doesn't know. It doesn't delve into these matters. It doesn't understand, but your subconscious knows. So it'll stop you, and it'll make you procrastinate. You'll make mistakes on purpose. You'll do things wrong. You'll turn up late to places. You won't make that meeting that would have worked. And you might think, oh, well, it's a series of unfortunate events and it meant I never got to go. But it's not. It's not. It's on purpose. And you can until you can grasp it and understand the way your subconscious works, you can't stop it, if that makes sense. You have to go back. And so I start at the negative, and we'll always start at the negative. So we'll always look at things that have happened in your life, where you want to, why these events still stand out to you. What are they? So if you were coming to me for financial abundance, then we would look at your beliefs around money. So what's happened in the past with money, and we'll work back and we'll work back and we'll work back until we get to the very first belief you ever held about money, when we've worked through all the others. So, and that could just be something as simple as your parents telling you that we're not rich people, we're never going to be rich, people like us don't make money, anything along those lines. And you took that belief as a child and you made it yours, and then you've added all the rest around it. So we have to get back to that. Once we've got back to that and we deal with that, and we make our subconscious feel safe because we've tapped on it and we've released it,
then we can start with the positive. And then we can start reprogramming money issues. We can start tapping on how we want to feel with money, how we intend, and we can start a conversation with your subconscious. So I encourage a lot of my clients to start becoming friends with your subconscious, start having conversations with yourself, even though it seems something we're taught not to do, because that makes you a bit weird, a bit strange, a bit crazy to talk to yourself. Don't talk to yourself. But I encourage my clients to talk to themselves and to have this conversation with themselves, to hear that voice, that one that we all know is there, that's always telling us, you're not good enough to do that, you can't do it. Listen to it and acknowledge it and hear it. And then we know what we need to change, because we can work forward with it, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I have to ask, what inspired you to start working with as an EFT practitioner, if this is the correct term?
Yeah. So if I'll talk about me and my life. So I didn't have an easy childhood growing up. I accrued a lot of trauma. A lot of things happened to me as I grew up. There was a lot of emotional and physical abuse in my childhood, which led to me being 24, 25 and having a nervous breakdown, essentially. I struggled with panic attacks from a young age, and no one ever knew where they come from or why I had them, or what was the cause of them. And I just had some diazepam in my bag that I could take if I got to the problem. I'd had many visits to the hospital, not being able to breathe, and they checked me over, and I was fine. They couldn't understand what was wrong with me. So it continued till it built up to the point of having a breakdown. Essentially, I was hiding under my table on my own in my little flat in Bristol where I was living, crying, and I was out of control. I didn't know why I was crying. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to be this person anymore. And I remember everybody makes you go to the doctor then, because I went to the doctor, and the doctor gave me medication. And I remember sitting there with the tablets in my hand that night, and I just knew that if I took these tablets, then things weren't going to be the same anymore. But I didn't know if I wanted to do it. So I didn't take them, and I found counselling instead. I found cognitive behavioural therapy, and I did that for a long time. I did it for years. So I dip into it, do some, stop doing it, and then go back to it again. But I found it wasn't really making changes. Nothing was changing for me. I was talking about my problems, which was good for me. It was a new thing to actually talk about it, because when things have happened to you in the past, you minimalize them, and we live in this world where we don't talk about them.
Yeah, I know.
So nobody wants to know about how awful your childhood was. Nobody wants to know about that, because that will trigger their own emotional issues. So we don't talk about it. And if you mention it, people just will look the other way, or just say, oh no, well, we get over it, come on, you're all right now, that was in the past. But it's not in the past, because your body still lives in the past. So I did CBT for a long time, and nothing changed. And I had my children, and when I had my children, things started to change. After my first child, I started to look at the world differently. I started to see things that I hadn't seen before, and all of a sudden things started changing for me. So that was 9 years ago, and I started being able to, I looked at the way we were eating and our health and the way we were living our lives, and knew that I had to make changes, because the way I was living wasn't right, and I didn't know that before. I think sometimes having children gives you that chance to stop a little bit, and you step out of the rat race, as the normal everyday life. You step out of it, and things just changed. And I was still having panic attacks. So I had children, and I was still every now and again, I'd come up against something in my life and I would have a panic attack and I couldn't breathe, but I never knew what it was. I never knew why. I just, oh, I'm having a panic attack. I don't know why. I can't breathe. And that went on and on and on until eventually I came across a tapping video by chance. I say by chance because I don't believe that anything's ever by chance.
No.
So I came across this video when I was looking for something else, and I tried it when I had a panic attack and it worked. And that was just tapping on, I'm having a panic attack, I can't breathe. It was just the simple stuff, and it worked and it went away and I could breathe. And from that moment on, I knew that this was something that I had to do, and that's where it started. And then I did the training and I learned how to become a practitioner. I learned how to deal with my own issues because I can't help anybody else until I've dealt with my own issues. So I had to do a lot of work. I did a lot of one-on-one work with people, with an EFT practitioner as well, to try and to release and understand more about me and release everything I was holding on to. And then eventually I started to be a practitioner, and that's been my main focus. Being a practitioner is I want to give people this tool. You know, I tend to take clients on a 6-week block because I want you to take charge of your life. I don't want you to rely on me. I am not a savior or anything like that. I'm just someone here to help you to understand and to figure out how you're going to do it. And then I want you to be able to take that away, and I want people to be able to do it themselves and to change their lives and to think, yeah, I did it and I managed it and it's possible. And that's where I want to go with it. I will see people if they still want to see me. I won't send people away, but I tend to work in a 6-week block, and then I want people to think after that they're going to do it and they're going to take charge of their own lives and go forward with it, and they can do it. So that's how I got into EFT and everything that happened to me.
Beautiful story. I also had a look. I think I saw on your Instagram page that you doing planting, gardening. Tell us a little bit about that. What inspired you to start your own garden?
So as I said, since I had my first baby 9 years ago, things started to change for me, and I started looking into more natural health and healing and ways of looking after ourselves. And then when I had my second, I decided I'd had enough of living this life, this normal life, completely. So we decided we were going to sell our house, sell everything we had, and we packed up and we've got a camper van, and we took the proceeds of the sale of our house and we took our van to Europe, and we were going to go and buy somewhere in the countryside to live. Essentially, it was what was the plan. That's what we were going to do. So we went out there in a motorhome and we started looking at properties to buy so that we could start being able to look after ourselves, grow our own food, have our own animals. I really want a rescue shelter. I want to be able to look after all the animals. So we started doing that, and we found places, and we put an offer in on a place, and then I discovered I was pregnant with my third. So we decided that we weren't going to do it just then, because with a baby and buying somewhere in the middle of Spain, we decided probably might not have been the best time. So we came back and had the baby, and then we went out again with the same thing, and then the virus happened.
Yeah.
So we came back again, and we've been here since. And I decided that, I still want to do this. I still need to do this. I still need a way to plan for my family, and why not do it here? It's just as much as doing it abroad. We can't have the access to the land that we can have there. So I got an allotment in 2020, and we started playing around with the allotment and trying to plant things and trying to understand how it works. And then this year we've decided that we're going to do it, and we're going to try and grow and feed our family from the allotment, because I personally think that it's an option.
it's an option because we don't want to have to rely on people.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to rely on systems.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to rely. Going through the past couple of years and everything I knew before that taught me that we rely on systems and we rely on other people so much for the basic essentials of our life. And if something happens and it gets taken away, we're floundering. You know, at the beginning of 2020, when everybody went to the shops and raided the shops for food, it scared the life out of a lot of people. All of a sudden it was gone and it wasn't there anymore and they couldn't do it. So, and I don't ever want to feel like I'm in that situation. I don't ever want somebody else to be in charge of if I get to eat or not, if my family gets to eat or not. So that's what we're doing. We're determined to do it. And I don't know, I've called the channel Mud, Soil and Tears, that I'm trying to do a sort of vlog of it, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of tears this year. You know, I'm not, you know, I don't pretend to be an expert grower, and the channel really isn't about being an expert grower. It's about trying.
But no one comes to this world knowing everything, and no one is an expert. We all learn as we go along.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons I invited you for this interview, because you seemed so genuine in what you do. And I agree with you. You know, I don't want to rely on any systems anymore. We are planning to buy a boat and travel around the world because we just don't want to live this life anymore. We want to be sovereign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am happy to see that there are people like you out there who want to do something better and bigger for their families. And when you think about it, most of us have never been taught how to grow food, how to build a house, how to invest money, how to become rich. It's all about, you know, get a job and, and retire at the age of 60, 70. And that's it. That's your life pretty much.
Yeah.
And I refuse to live like this. I don't want to live like that.
It's crazy. Do you know, I didn't know that until I had a baby and I was breastfeeding, I didn't know, I grew up in inner city Manchester, that cows didn't just make milk for humans. I was 30 and I did not know that cows didn't just make milk for humans. And that's crazy. How can I be a 30-year-old woman and not understand what happens to a cow in order for it to give me milk?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. That's how clueless I was about the world.
Oh, well, now you're learning. So that's a huge step, to admit what you've missed in terms of knowledge and try to fix it to provide better life for your family. This is a huge thing.
Exactly. And that's why my girls, you know, they're not in traditional education at the moment, because that's not what I want them to learn. I want them to learn how to be who they are. And that's what's most important, is to learn to be who they are, and kind, caring, compassionate people. And that's what we're doing, and that's what they're learning. They're learning about life and growing, and as well as, you know, we do the reading and the writing and that stuff, but what I want them to do is to grow into the people that they were born to be. Not like the rest of us who have got to try and now claw our way back to the people we were born to be. I want them to be the future and to be the people they were born, you know, they came here to be.
It's not all about education, it's about knowledge. You know what I mean? So I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Do you have a message for our viewers and how they can find you?
The main message I would say is don't ever think that you can't change, and that you can't, and that you're stuck the way you are, because you're not. We're human beings. We're amazing. The very fact that we are here, just that, we're amazing. And you can always peel the layers away, and you can always find out who you really are. And even if you don't do it today, even if you don't do it tomorrow, even if you don't do it in 6 months' time,
as long as you're here, there's always a chance. There's always time to do it. And if it goes wrong and you think that didn't work for me, I tried this, or I've tried to deal with this before and I can't do it, then try something else in a few months. You know, there's never admit defeat when it comes to this, I think is what I want to say. Never, you know, you're not your trauma, you're not your past, you're not your anxiety. You're so much more than that. And that's what I want people to know. And that's what I believe about people. And I want people to believe in themselves as well.
Oh, this is such a beautiful message. Thank you so much, Kerry. So you have a website, and do you have 2 YouTube channels?
Yes. So I've got aspiretosoar.com, which is my website. On there's a link to my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I give lots of free tapping videos. And I've also started interviewing people over there about how they've recovered their health. So I've got quite a few interviews from people from a broad spectrum of health conditions that I've managed to claw back their own health as well. Because again, I want people to see things are possible. Anything's possible when you put your mind to it. So there's free tapping videos and free informational videos over there on that channel. So that's Aspire to Soar on YouTube, but you can link to it from my website. And then I've got Mud, Soil and Tears, which I've just started. It's a very small channel, but if you want to follow my year in the next year in the allotment, then that, please join in. And
I will definitely,
if you want to give me any advice.
Yeah. Yes, I will include all of your links into the description below, so people can find you, and if they need your assistance in their journey towards better life, they can contact you.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you very much for your time, Kerry. It's been a pleasure. I find it very informative, very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciated it.
And thanks for everybody for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.